Have you ever experienced something so crippling in your life that has made you feel broken? I have. Are you someone who has a giving heart but is struggling to feel good themselves? Are you consistently putting your needs aside to take care of everyone else? If so, you're not alone. Giving starts with giving to yourself so that you are able to give of yourself to other people. Isn't it time you took back control and discovered what makes you tick? Join me in my journey and find out how you can feel better about yourself, live your best life, and share that with others. Thinking of yourself, it doesn't make you selfish, it makes you brave. I'm Nelia, and this is the Giving Starts With You podcast. Everyone, welcome to another episode of the Giving Starts With You podcast. I'm your host, Nelia Hutt. I am so excited to have met a new friend today. Her name is Anat Peri. Welcome to the show, Anat. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you, Nelia, for having me on here.
Thank you. I can't wait to get started. I love what the stuff we're talking about today. So Anat Peri, she is the founder of Training Camp for the Soul. I love that. And a transformational life coach, specializing in developing her clients' emotional resiliency as the access to taking inspired action. With over 16 years of experience in developmental work, she has helped hundreds of people create the life they desire. And you guys know the show is all about creating the life that you want. So I love this. Her work teaches people how to use their emotions as allies to uncover what they truly want in life and propel them to more success and true deep happiness. Along Anat's journey, she has learned to use failure to her advantage. I love it. Reframing it as feedback to correct her course. She went from living in force, fear, codependency, and self-doubt to courageously pursuing her passion and purpose. Anat considers it her mission to help people thrive, committed to bringing positive energy, compassion, and tenacity to serve as a catalyst to the elevation of their clients' lives, relationships, and performance. Through sharing her leadership expertise, formulas, healing modalities, and priceless wisdom from life experiences, she has helped countless people to own their own power and create a life by design. You know, life is so short. I am so happy to meet people like you, honestly. So yeah, welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you. Where are you tuning in from today?
I'm tuning in from a beautiful sunny day in San Diego, California.
I'm so jealous. It's like cold and rainy here. I'm in Canada, and we did have a few nice days, but I'm telling you, I think the snow's coming again for a couple of days.
Well, Nelia, I'm beaming some sun rays and
Thank,
sunshine and warm weather to you now, and hope it reaches fast.
thank you so much. So Anat, where do we start? Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got started in this business and what, what matters to you?
Yeah, well, I think you did a very good job just now of introducing who I am, and and I wasn't born this way, or maybe I was born this way and then I forgot and I found my way back.
Love it.
But right now, life is amazing. I have a thriving business. I'm recently engaged to an amazing man, and but probably at like the top of my game so
Beautiful.
far. 41 years old, and just short, 9 years ago, I was still struggling. I actually hit my rock bottom about 9 years ago. Prior to that, I struggled with codependency in every relationship, feeling lost in my career, $40,000 in debt, unhappy, unfulfilled, dealing with a lot of insecurities, not willing to step into my own power, and at the same time starting my self-development journey. So it was interesting to gain insight into myself and at the same time feel like I'm not making any progress. And
Mm,
I'll touch on that more later. But so about 8 years into my self-development journey is when I hit my rock bottom, where I left a 5-year relationship that probably should have ended after 3 years, and bought a one-way ticket to California with no job, no car, no home, no plan, and $2,000 to my name, no self-love, a lot of anger and resentment and bitterness.
Mm.
And so for those of you listening, if you've gone through it or you're going through it, there's still hope for you. It could completely turn around, and it doesn't just happen. It took me going deeper into the work that actually creates lasting transformation. And I'll touch on that as well. So that was like my own self journey of hitting that rock bottom. And the good thing about hitting rock bottom is you can't fall off the floor. So from there, I was like, okay, well, I got nothing more to lose. So I practiced letting go of the control of thinking that I knew what was best for me, because clearly I didn't know what was best if at almost 33 years old, I didn't have anything to show for it. And so I just started to live in a deep surrender and allow myself to be guided by the universe and start to listen and learn from the wisdom of the universe as opposed to my limitations. And it led me to the beginning of my true healing journey. I say that because up until that point, even though I was doing self-development work, the work that I was doing was very mindset, cognitive, and the mind is important, and it is good work, but it was lacking the body. It was lacking the connection to our energetic field, to my emotions, and so it was a lot of what I call trimming the weeds. Uh,
But good for you. I mean, sometimes we find ourselves in these places and we don't know how to start to get ourselves out, right? So sometimes when we're deep in all that stuff, because a lot of us, I think, at one point or another, we deal with all of that self-loathing and all the stuff you described. And how do you even begin? And sometimes you don't feel strong enough to take that first step, right? So good for you that you dedicated, your time and your energy to that.
yeah, I think a part of me always knew that this was my path. I remember being in high school, and my girlfriends always came to me for advice. I mean, Nellie, if I could rewind a movie and watch what I said, I'd probably cringe. Um, but for my age and for who I was, whatever it was, it created peace of mind. It was helpful to the people around me. So I always had this gift, this wisdom, and
It's the heart too. I can see the heart through the screen.
thank you. Yeah. But I needed to remember that I need to get myself there. And that took me about 10 years of my journey to experience real transformation where you feel space for something new, where you can take new actions and behave in new ways and not just acquire a lot of knowledge. Awareness is important. It's what I call stage one of the 5 stages of transformation. But if you stop at knowledge, if you stop at awareness, then
There's
you're
no
just gonna
action.
you're gonna be busy managing yourself for a really long time. And I know it's frustrating. I know firsthand it's frustrating because when I met my mentor, 8 years into this journey, he goes, you're ready to be done, aren't you? I'm like, I'm so ready. And not that we're ever done, but done with dealing with the same stuff.
Mm.
And he led me into my body, into realizing that how powerful our body is at healing itself. And that yes, there's plant medicine that could support that, and there's guides and mentors that could support that, but at the end of the day, like, you hold the power, and it's all in our body. I mean, when our moms were pregnant with us, how much thought did they have to give in order for us to develop in the womb? Not much, yet here we all are.
Yeah.
And I always like to share this analogy too. You know, when you burn your finger or you cut yourself, you feel this strong sensation called pain, right? We label it as like, ouch, that's painful. And we put ointment on it or ice on it or a Band-Aid on it. But that's not really what's doing the healing. It's your body. I believe that the reason that we feel this strong, painful sensation is for it to signal to the rest of the body that this part needs healing. And so I've experienced the same thing with healing from, you know, big T traumas to little T traumas to, you know, any past hurts. I've experienced the body being able to process and discharge and come back to wholeness of that. We can talk about that too.
That's beautiful. I love that connection for sure. What is one of the most common personal blocks that you think most people don't know that they have, but that they have? Like, I mean, there are so many instances where I think we surprise ourselves. Sometimes somebody will point it out to us, and we don't know that that's a part of who we are or what we're doing. So, what would you say is one of the most common blocks that people have?
I don't know that it's a particular one or even two. It's the place to really look and know that like you're living in some kind of block or identity is if you are too much in your comfort zone. You know, the identity is going to create this cushy place and this illusion for you to reside in so that you could be in this illusion of safety.
Mm.
And so I think what I see with my clients a lot of times is they may have blocks and come in for something specific like self-sabotage, or not having confidence in themselves. But what they end up uncovering is usually much, not even related and much deeper to that, because your life is a movie. And you're the writer, you're the director, you're the producer, you're the actor, and you learned a script when you were young. And all that's happening right now is you keep playing out the same roles, you keep playing out the same script, and you keep casting people to play in your movie that fit what your script says, what you learned, what your identity is telling you, all to continue to stay alive. And I say that stay alive meaning the movie must go on. So as much as we want something to be different, if you are always playing out the same roles and the same script, then that becomes your comfort zone. That becomes the way that it just is. And we learn to take on, this is just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say that's the biggest one. A lot of times it's a blind spot for people, is how much they've accepted something as the
Good
best,
enough.
as good enough, even if what that is I'm not good enough. It's I've sentenced you. It's like you're sentencing yourself to that.
It's like you get up, go to work, come home, make dinner, go out, go to bed.
Yeah,
Like, it's just,
or whatever it is, or if
Mhm.
you deal with depression and it's just like this is the way it is.
That's happened to me actually. I got so comfortable in the darkness that I was like, I'm okay with feeling this way. You know, you get so comfortable and you become afraid of to see what else is out there.
Yes,
Things become too comfortable.
you
Mm-hmm.
hit it on the nail. It's it's like, even though you really don't want to be in the darkness, even though you don't want to experience depression anymore, there's a part of you that's attached to it. There's a
Yes.
part of you that's quote unquote addicted to it. That is like, if my identity lets this go and there's something greater for me possible, then that means that all these other parts of my identity, all these other beliefs that I have about myself, I have to let go of too. And there's just this big fear of like, well, who am I without these?
Mhm.
It's wild, but it becomes an illusion of comfort that I'm better off just staying in my pain and my suffering, my depression and my anxiety and my darkness than giving myself a chance
Mhm.
to experience something else.
And I love what you said, Anat, because you said giving space, for something new. It doesn't mean instead of. There can be room for everything.
Mhm. And there is everything. That is the human experience. Human experience is the full spectrum. And I have a facilitator in training that falls into depression, right? Or like can really dance in the full spectrum.
Mm.
And it's only recently that she's finally seeing it as that, as like, I'm just someone that has the full wide range of the rainbow and from the light to the dark. And um, and that's all it is, as opposed to, here I am feeling this darkness again. Why? How could this go away? Like, how can I fix this? Where you're making it wrong. And the more you make it wrong, the more it is wrong, and the more then you're wrong. And then the more you spiral into feeling more of that,
Mm.
as opposed to giving it the love that it actually needs.
Yeah,
And
don't ignore it, right?
yeah, embrace it and see it as a gift. I also see this with um, clients of mine that are highly sensitive, people that
Mm.
are empathic and very sensitive
That's me.
and can feel other people's energy. And sometimes to the point where, like, someone next to you is having a bad day or emotional, and you feel yourself getting emotional. And sometimes people, when they don't get this as a superpower yet, it's a superpower, Nelia. When they don't get it as a superpower yet, it seems like hell. It's like, oh my God,
Exhausting.
exhausting. I need to stay in my own space. I don't want to be at big parties, be around people. And really, it's a superpower, but you have to learn to work with it instead of fighting it and wanting it to not be there. I
I
think
love
it's
that you turn that around because, that to think of something in that way instead of a curse, it will change everything.
Yeah, I mean, my CEO, my co-facilitator, Chris, he's like that. He's extremely sensitive, and he's in the gift of it now. And his ability to be able
Mm.
to read energy, feel energy, transmute energy, it's amazing. And I think the same thing with people that can experience the darkest of the darkest, could feel and go and to these painful places, quote unquote painful. They're able to relate and to those that struggle with it as well. My one client that experiences this often, I said to her, I go, do you know the amount of like of strength that you have for you to be able to be with it, even though you're resisting it?
Right.
And I said to her, I go, a fire can burn down a village, and that same fire could feed a whole village. It just
Mm.
how
I love that.
you use it. And so if you're using it in a way where you're causing fire everywhere, well, then that's what's going to happen. And that was her. Like, she couldn't be with her. She didn't know how to express her anger appropriately, how to process that appropriately. So it would come out that way.
Mm.
When she learned and realized that she only gets to that level of rage or anger because she's not communicating appropriately sooner. And it's not her fault. She
Mm.
never learned how to communicate her needs for mom and dad. So all she knew was just to have temper tantrums. And then mom and dad are saying, what's wrong with you? Calm down. You need to relax. So all they taught her was, when you're like this,
Mm.
something wrong with you.
Yeah, I love this generation that me and you are in, because we're really starting to teach ourselves and educating ourselves about these things, and getting coaches who have been through it, and, learning from people like you, because it's true. I think the other generation didn't really, it wasn't a thing.
No, it wasn't. And so here we are, course correcting.
Yes.
But once she realized that, oh my God, now I'm just doing the same thing to myself. Every time I feel rage or anger or, darkness, pain, depression, I treat myself the way mom did. I say, what's wrong with me? I shouldn't
Mm.
be feeling this way. This needs to stop. And, what's missing is just, if she knew how to communicate, which she's learned through my work, how to communicate her needs appropriately, then it never escalates to that.
Mhm. Yes.
And so
And
then,
stop resisting, right?
yeah, you stop resisting, and then your fire feeds the village instead of burning it down. And she's, she's in training to be one of my facilitators. And I was like, I've seen you facilitate. I go, you got power. She can hold a lot of energy, a lot of space because of that. Like, that's the gift of it.
Mm.
So I invite those listening who struggle with it to allow yourself to shift the perspective that whatever is
Yeah.
hard on you is really, you're given this because you have this capacity. And if you work with this capacity, it becomes a superpower.
I love that so much. Thank you. Because it's almost like when you're in it, it feels so big to get out of it. So, what is the one thing that perhaps somebody on the fence doesn't really know how to start? What would, for example, be a small, simple, actionable tool that they can apply to get started? Like, what could be a first step for someone?
Mm. What a very easy tool is something that I call priming safety.
Hmm.
If we don't feel safe, then we don't occupy our bodies.
Hmm.
We go into the mind and let the mind dictate and control. And so learning to feel safe in our body, so our body can know how to process these emotions, these energies. That's what we are. And so I call it priming safety, because, like, priming a wall, if you're going to repaint the wall from beige to blue, you have to prime it first. And so before you can get into uh, the healing experience, you have to prepare yourself and prime yourself with safety. And so when someone is feeling a lot of energy, you want to start this practice. And I'll start off by asking a question, Nelia. When someone is scared or not safe, how do they sit?
Hmm. Very hunched over, protective. Sometimes they
Curled up
might
in a
even
ball.
be like, you know, touching a
Yeah,
part of themselves or something. Hmm.
yeah, exactly. So how would one sit if he or she was safe?
Shoulders down, posture,
Mhm.
just everything. You can just,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
breathing,
yeah.
right? Mm.
Yes, sitting up straight, spine straight, chest open, palms up on your lap, like open to receiving. So that is already signaling to the body safety. Then
Mm.
there's the breath. How does one breathe when they don't feel safe?
Yes. And having anxiety, I can tell you all about that.
Yeah.
Don't
So
even pay attention. You're just feeling like you're hyperventilating. You're not paying attention to your breath at all.
yeah. So shallow breathing, upper chest, or not even breathing. Some people freeze
Holding.
and
Mhm.
holding. So how would one breathe if they were priming safety?
Mhm.
Deep belly breaths. And I like to start with the exhale,
Hmm.
blowing all the air out of your mouth. Because there's a lot excess, like, so getting it all out and then taking that first deep inhale, filling up and exhaling, filling up, maybe holding it at the top for a few seconds and exhale, and all into the belly and the diaphragm. So putting your hands on your rib cage and seeing the rib cage expand out. Deep breaths.
Paying attention and being mindful of what you're doing.
Breath, breath, breath. And then the last part is occupying the monkey mind. That's
Yes.
saying, this is scary, or this is too much. I can't handle this. Tuning in to another radio station called Safety and repeating to yourself, I'm safe, safe to be in my body, safe to feel this, safe to experience this. I'm safe, safe to be in my body, safe to feel this, safe to experience this. So you're sitting open, deep belly breaths, and you just keep repeating that till you drop into your body and start to scan for any sensation. And then you might start experiencing some releases. The
Mhm.
way the body releases is yawning. It's a very powerful form of release. As I yawn.
Yes.
I know. Sometimes people think it's that they're tired. No, not unless it's late at night or you haven't slept well. It's your nervous system downregulating. It's releasing energy. Um, Crying is a powerful form of release. And I want to speak to those that cry a lot because that's me or was me. There's a difference between crying, releasing, and crying, indulging.
Mm.
Cry, but they're just fueling the fire. It's like, something upsets you. And then on top of that, the monkey mind starts saying, yeah, because you're a loser. Yeah, nobody loves you. Nobody cares about you. And all that stuff just makes you feel what? Feel worse. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're crying, but now you're like drowning in your sorrow. So making sure that that's not releasing, that's indulging. Releasing is just whatever that part of you is that feels this way. Picture it as your inner child, your little boy or your little girl, and picture yourself holding that part of you and saying, it's okay. It's okay to feel that. It's okay to have this experience, and having that good cry. So that's another form of release. Tremoring is one. If you start shaking or you feel like you need to shake, that's a good thing. That is the nervous system releasing.
Hmm.
Um, laughing attacks. That's always a fun one. Um, and burping. And I don't mean after, you drank a big glass of something or had a meal. And I mean, it's consistent burping. I had a client the other day at my retreat experience this, and she goes, I thought this was bullshit up until now. I thought people were making this up and just making themselves burp. And I go, no.
When you're so relaxed that you're not even, uptight, like it's just
Yeah.
like I had an experience my first time meditating too. There was music being played around me, and it was just, I was so into what I was doing that these beautiful tears just kept flowing down but it wasn't like I was happier. It was just like this release. Like I didn't even know where it came from until my face was all wet. And I'm like, oh, okay. But it was such a beautiful feeling. Like,
Yeah, it's an allowance. It takes no effort. A lot of times what takes effort is resisting it and swallowing it and holding it back. And so it could be sometimes my clients will start coughing or feel like they need to purge, and I'm like, cough it out, keep going with that energy. Don't stop it. Um, uh, Having a good cathartic scream or punching a pillow.
mm,
Think about it. If you're harboring anger, how else would the energy of anger want to be
Yes.
expressed if not a good, deep, from the root scream all the way up, or, punching a pillow?
It's true. I've done that. I've gone in my car and parked somewhere where there's nobody around and just let one out. And it feels so good. Yes, you feel a little crazy for about 30 seconds, but you don't care because it just feels so great.
Yeah,
So important.
exactly. And then hot and cold flashes.
Mm,
The body getting hot and the body getting cold and releasing that way. Or sometimes it just dissipates. If, let's say, you're holding tension somewhere, and then it releases itself. And so it is that easy. And it's the mind that complicates things, that resists or asks, why? Why am I feeling this way? Where did this come from? Why is this here?
mm.
And all of that is just, it's avoiding, and it's protecting you from actually being with it. Analysis paralysis paralyzes you. Like, it doesn't matter why. Make up a why right now. It's still here.
Mhm.
So regardless of the reason.
See, I was going to ask you about that because I've talked to people with different opinions. And for me, it was always important to find out, like, for example, when my anxiety was there. So it was always important for me to find out, why do I have it? I was so angry about it at first.
Yeah.
Why is this happening? How? Because I thought if I knew why, I could put a stop to it. And
Sure.
I was taught it doesn't matter why. Don't think about why.
Yeah.
What is your take on that? Like, it's
That's what
not
that's what I said. I
Mhm.
just said exactly that. The why doesn't matter. The why is going to keep you in your mind, and it's your mind that I just said complicates things, and it's your mind that wants to stay in control and fix it. When the truth is, Nelia, there's nothing to fix.
Mm.
There's nothing wrong.
When I
There's
realized that,
nothing.
yeah, thank
This,
you for saying that.
this is a sensation. This is just energy in the body. And one of the things that I teach is learning to be with our emotions at the level of sensation. Most people are being with emotions at the level of label.
Mm.
I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I'm horny. I'm happy.
Mhm,
I'm
mhm.
sad. I'm angry. I'm scared. And if it's quote unquote labeled good, then we're like, woohoo. I mean, when do you ask yourself, why am I happy? Why am I happy?
It's
Why am I?
true.
But if you're feeling angry or sad, why am I sad? How can I get this to stop? I just want to feel better. And that's the mind taking over, when really our body is just experiencing a sensation. And so being with it at the level of sensation is, well, Melia, let me ask you, if you're anxious, let's say you're anxious right now, where in your body do you feel that
I feel
anxious?
it in my chest a lot, in my
Okay.
neck.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Great. And now, if you were to close your eyes and describe and put all your focus there, like laser beam focus, and describe it in as many sensations as possible. So I'll help you out. Does it have a temperature?
So yes, when I'm experiencing anxiety, um, it does. Feel very hot. You can become sweaty. I feel the vibrations. I
Yeah.
feel, yeah, like lack of control. My vision goes funny.
Yeah.
I get
So
headaches, lots of
yes. So so identifying wherever you're feeling it and describing that in felt sensations: color, temperature, size,
mm,
shape, texture, weight. Is it heavy or
pressure too.
light? Is it pressure? Is it hollow? Is it dense? Is it mucky? So as many ways as you can describe it, what that's doing is you're being with it at the level of felt sensation. And there's no judgment there. There's no right, wrong. There's just, this is what it is. and you're also putting so much of your attention there with loving awareness and curiosity, and the body then signals and knows what to do with it and starts to
Mm.
discharge it. It's the judgment of it most of the time
It's true.
that has it continue to freak out or
Thank you. Thank you so much for pointing that out, because when you're in that with those moments, the fear takes over. So as long as you remember, look, if I can feel these things, I know I'm not going to die from this.
exactly,
Going to be okay.
which is why you prime safety first. And then you say, okay, you accept that stage 2, acceptance. You accept the fact that, yes, you are experiencing this.
Hmm.
And most people don't want to accept it. If you're trying to fix it, make it go away, change it, you're not accepting it. And people get stuck right there. They get stuck in that stage of transformation between awareness and acceptance of how can I make this go away? How can I make this stop? And it's like, no, just accept it, which means then you have to fully be with it and fully feel it, which is why it's important to prime safety first, right? Or continue to prime safety. So accepting the fact that doesn't matter why, because the why is like, I don't want to accept this. Tell me why. Accepting right now I am experiencing ... I had a client the other day that was like, well, I'm just so angry. I'm like, great, be angry, get it out. Like there's no wrong emotion. There's just
There's nothing wrong with being angry as long as you don't do something negative with
yeah,
it.
right, exactly. So again, learning how to process and be with our own energy and emotions. So next time you feel anxious, saying, okay, I'm safe. I'm experiencing anxiety right now. I'm safe to experience this, safe to feel this. Where am I experiencing this anxiety? Where am I feeling it right now? Oh, it's in my neck, it's in my shoulder, it's in my chest. Okay, it's shaped like a snake. It's very hot. It's spiky. It's heavy. It's moving fast. Whatever it is, you just, and that gets you out of the monkey mind that's judging it, wanting to control it, and into the body, and you'll start to process it.
I love that. People can really take everything that you've taught us today and really start somewhere, because I did that. I suppressed my feelings for 12 years,
Mm-hmm.
thinking they were going to go away. And
Yeah,
instead, yeah, and
take a
instead I was
while.
left with diagnosis of this, of this, of this,
Oh, that's not helpful either. None of those are you. Get away from the diagnoses. They have to diagnose you something, right? They got to charge your insurance company. So they have to put
Yeah.
something on
And
there.
it's not until I said to myself, enough, like I need to do this for me. Like I can't wait for everybody else to come and help me out. Like
Yeah.
it needs to be something that I start.
Yep. And that's powerful because you realize that you do have say. You,
Absolutely.
you hold the power. You hold the key. I was gonna say before, when I'm with my family, like my sister-in-law and my niece, and my niece is in the back seat, and she's 3 years old, and she wants to say something, and you don't listen. What does she do? She gets louder. And
Yes,
so, 12 years of harboring and stuffing down emotions. Yeah, I could imagine that little Nelia, your inner child in there, is like, I'm
yes,
gonna make a mess. I'm gonna start a tornado. I'm gonna get her attention.
exactly what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, you can free yourself. You can release all of that energy that's stored there and experience the peace and the spaciousness then to plant what you want to plant in your garden, and to therefore live a life of creation, of being able to take action in the direction of the things that you want in your life, as opposed to constantly living in a state of survival, which is what most people are doing.
Mm.
They're in, how
Yes.
do I make sure this doesn't happen to me again? Or I don't want to end up like my mother. I don't want to end up like my father. You know, I don't want to die. I don't want to
Be
run out of
unhappy.
money. I don't want to run out of money. Everything is always the I don't want to ... which is the language of someone who's in survival.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're in creation, it's all declarations of who you are,
I love that.
who you're becoming. And in order to get there, you have to clear out what's there. You know, I'm not saying, oh, you know, everyone should just step into creation right now. I'm like, no, you have to complete whatever was incomplete from your past. You have to identify that weed in your garden. You have to get to the root of it. The root of it exists in the energetic body. Sometimes you have to revisit past experiences as an observer and see that little Nelia didn't know how to deal with that when mom was saying XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
So she created this survival pattern of I'll just shut my mouth and go hide. And so sometimes you need to go back to those moments and say, if I knew I was safe, what would have I, and if I had the knowledge and awareness that I do now as an adult, because up to the age 7, we don't have logic. We're just taking in information and doing whatever we see with it. If you knew you were safe, what would you have done differently then? What would you have said to mom? What would you have needed to hear from mom? And connecting in that moment to the experience that little Nelia had. What did she see? What did she hear? What did she feel? She felt sad and she was scared. Yeah, feel that. Can you feel that right now? And that'll connect you to that energy, that trauma that our body holds, these, and I mean trauma, just emotional experiences that didn't get processed.
Mm-hmm.
They got stored away.
Absolutely.
And so it connects you to that where the body's like, oh, I'm safe now to process this. And at the same time, using your mind, because again, the mind is powerful. We want the mind and the body to say, if I knew I was safe, what did I need from mom? Or what would I have expressed to mom? Oh, I would have let mom know, mom, please stop. You're scaring me. I'd really like it if you held me right now. And it's like, oh, wow. What do I need to give to myself? Oh, the same thing. I need to stop being hard on myself and hold myself, give myself the love. And that's
Do you agree that we give our friends and other people's children all this love that we don't give to ourselves? Like, I talk much better to a friend than I would normally to me. I'm correcting that now, but
it depends on what you learned. So mom represents an extension of self. So we learn everything about how to talk to ourselves, treat ourselves, be with ourselves, take care of ourselves, listen to ourselves. Everything related to the self you learned from mom. Reason is, the second you were born and mom held you, you didn't know that that was your mom. Even if she said, I'm your mommy, you didn't understand. But what you did not recognize was the energy. The energy, mom's energy felt familiar. You just spent 9 months in mom. And so in that moment, there's this bond, this connection that gets formed of like, mom is me, I am mom. And so mom in that moment becomes the role model for the self. You don't actually see mom as separate for the first few years. You see mom. That's why children are always like running to mommy. Mommy, mommy, I need mommy if they hurt themselves at that age or anything, because mom represents your foundation, your safety, your nurture. So it depends. And you learn by what you see, hear, or feel energetically from mom, whether she said it directly to you or indirectly, and whether she feels it about herself and that energy imprinted you, or she made you feel that way by the way that she communicated to you and treated you. So you learn how to treat yourself. And we copy, and at times we rebel. I'm never going to do that again. Either one is not who you are. Both are survival tactics. So that's the self. And then everything related to others we learn from father. Because the day when you were born, dad held you for the first time, and it didn't feel familiar in any way, but it felt amazing because dad was just on ecstasy times 100. I mean, a mother has 9 months to get used to, like, whoa, this is really happening. There's definitely something growing in my belly. The dad may see the belly growing, feel the kicks, but it doesn't become real until he holds you. And when he holds you, oh, there's joy there. There's a lot of pride. I created this. And they're so like overwhelmed with emotions. And that's what you feel when dad first holds you. It's like ecstasy times 100. And so that is the love of our life. It's the first experience of something outside of me loving me.
Absolutely.
It's everything that's not me, because you're like, whoa, this isn't me, but this feels great. So dad becomes the role model for the world, the universe, God. That's why the father, right? Love and relationships with others, vulnerability and purpose. And so when people struggle with others, I say, what did you learn from dad? What did dad model to you in this area? And sometimes there's something that you learned from both. There's to uncover, well, what did mom show you about, being with others? And then dad representing the other, what was that like for you? So for me, my father ran a hotel when I was young. So he worked 16 hours a day. So I didn't see dad much, meaning I didn't see my world. I didn't have time with others. I didn't have love there for me, right? That is who he represents. And how that affected me was I took on beliefs of I'm invisible. I don't matter. Others will always put something else before you. And that played out for years for me. And my way of surviving it, because again, our identity has to create a way to survive that, was I think it was at 8 years old, my dad started working from home with his own business. I would go down and help dad. Stapling papers, paper clips, whatever I could do, making photocopies, filing, because I just wanted to be around love. And I thought that was quality time together, when really I was just there in the background.
Grasping for time.
And that showed up in my future romantic relationships. I remember my high school boyfriend being really into playing video games, and he just wanted to sit there and play video games, which is fine. But I should have gone home. Instead, I'd sit there and watch him play and clean his room and make some lunch for us. Because again, it fit the script of what I learned. So long answer to topic of, how we treat ourselves versus how we treat others. All goes back to what you learned from mom and dad. And here's the thing to recognize. It's not who you are, Nelia. It's what you learned. And if you learned it, you can unlearn it. And that's the other takeaway I want people listening to get. Stop saying, I am depressed. I am a procrastinator. I am a people pleaser. And start saying, I learned to be a people pleaser. I learned to be a procrastinator.
Thank you for that.
There's what do you feel? There's space there for something new.
Not a punishment.
It's not a punishment. It's not a sentence till your death. It's not who you are. It's just what you you learn.
Just those words give you more hope to be able to change those. Now you can unlearn
It opens up a whole new door. I learned to be a people pleaser. So if I learn that, what else? Who do I want to be? How did I learn that?
So, Anat, I just wanted to ask you. So, a lot of us feel that maybe we can do this on our own, but we can't. Like, it takes a long time. The journey is long. It's one of the most important things you can do for yourself. One of the biggest gifts you can give yourself is take the time to, learn differently and learn how to unlearn those things. And like you said yourself, you had a coach, right? So, yeah. So I think it's so important for people not to put so much pressure that they need to know everything. This is why there are coaches like you out there. This is why there are people who have been through it and have been on the other side. Like, for example, if I asked you, how different is your life now than before? It would be night and day, right?
It is. I shared that in the beginning. Right now, I have
Yes.
a thriving business with a whole team. I get to do a lot of podcasts while the rest of my team does the other stuff. A wonderful relationship with a man who loves real quality time with me and presence with me, and has taught me a lot about that. Because when he started being that way with me, I was like, I don't know. Whoa, this is different. How do I be? What do I do with all this? This is so new. So yeah, life is extremely different. Like a garden, when you trim a weed, that weed grows back. Doesn't look any different. There's self-development work out there that doesn't go deep enough and maybe makes you feel better in the moment, like, woohoo, oh my god, I went to Tony Robbins. And not to knock Tony, he's obviously brilliant and great, but some people need something deeper or closer to experience the release past just like oh my god, woohoo, I had this amazing experience. Transformation is not a walk in the park on a sunny San Diego day. Transformation is a walk through a burning forest and there's a dragon to slay. Yes. And if you're not experiencing, if you're not feeling, you're not healing. And if you are harboring anger, resentment, sadness, grief, and you're not feeling that, you're not healing that.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, life is very different now. I've gotten to the root of my weeds where I could plant new seeds and behave and take action, meaning water those seeds. And now, yeah, life looks different. Like, end of the day, bottom line is, you want to know if the course you're doing or the coach you're working with, if it was effective, as long as you showed up 100%, does life look different? I always tell people when they complete my work, I'm like, you don't have to go tell people about this. Show them. Show up differently. Absolutely. Show up as your best version of yourself. And they're watching and they're going to say, whoa, you're like, I had a client message me today. She just came out of my retreat last week. She's like, I've had a few people comment and tell me how much I'm glowing, how grounded and open I feel. Exactly. And then they always say, what have you been doing? And then you get to tell them. That's real transformation. But yeah, it's like, if you're trying to do this by yourself, it's lonely and it's painful. It's a lot more fun in group with someone supporting and holding your hand. And at the end of the day, it's not going to work for you. It's only
nodding because I totally agree. I totally
going to work with you. You have to be willing to do your part in it. But from someone who's been in the industry for 16 years, I wish, I have some clients right now that are like 24, 27, and I'm like, oh my God, to have this at that age, like the sky's the limit for you so much sooner. It's just, it's not that you can't do it on your own. It's just going to take you so much longer. Learn from the experts, work with the experts, and get the transformation and the experience that much sooner, because time is finite. And for some people, maybe an issue of money. Money is
What the value you put on it, right?
Yeah, and money's infinite. I mean, I remember going from being $40,000 in debt to having $60,000 in my bank account in 1 year and being debt free. Like, it could change like that. You can go from making 10,000 today to $2 today, the next day. It could go any which way, and we give too much power to money instead of seeing it as energy. But the only guarantee is that our time is finite.
Mm.
Until they
So
come out with a
precious.
magic pill, but it's
The
precious.
most precious thing.
And so how are you spending it? What do you want to do with it? And when I hear from my clients that have experienced the transformation, they always say like, wow, I wish I knew sooner. I wish I had this sooner. I wish I didn't wait if they did. And so yeah, embrace being inside of a container, of a community, and going through the trenches with others, with a leader, with a guide, and you'll have a lot more fun as well. Along the
Yeah.
way.
And people will just, sometimes there's a fear there, but people will just embrace you, and you'll feel like you're with your people, because you will be, you will learn to trust. And yeah,
Yeah,
it is amazing. Yeah, for sure. It can be very lonely if you're doing it on your own.
yeah, yeah. And some things can only be healed in community.
Hmm.
There are some things that um, you can work on the limiting belief, you could feel the energy and all that. But if you don't trust women, because all women are mean girls, for example, until you are like, I had a client at my retreat last week that was her thing. And we did an afternoon, a 90-minute session where it was just the women. And I asked all the women in the group, how many of you have felt hurt or betrayed by a woman at some point in your life? And like, 95% of them raised their hand. And then I also said, how many of you women have been that woman to betray or be a mean girl at some point in your life? And some of the same women raised their hand. But this was so healing for my one client, because she really thought that it was only her. And
Mm.
there really are certain things
Yes.
that can only be healed in group, in community, and that's the power of it.
So true. Like, we're all humans. We all have different, different yet similar experiences. And yeah,
And if you
so
think
many.
you're the only one, that it's all you, then it is going to be lonely in there. Because if you're the only one, then where are you living? In your own head, which
Yes.
you could get in there, as far as I know. So it could be very lonely. And yeah, so embrace the tribe, find whoever your tribe is and your tribe leader is, and then discover who you are. And
Thank you so much. I've learned a lot from you today, and I'm sure our audience has learned a lot. Where can we find you? How can we connect with you?
I'm active on Instagram, Anat Peri. Also, we have for those of you that are active on Facebook, we have a free Facebook community called the Freedom Seekers Tribe. So you could join in on there.
Love it. I will join that today.
Yeah, and then you could go to trainingcampforthesoul.com and see what's the latest and greatest with us.
Well, I had a lot of fun and I learned so much, and I love it because I think people will put the shame away and start actually doing the work.
Yep,
So
that's it.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
thank you so much for all your wisdom and sharing, your personal story as well. And I love it when I meet new people that have taken what they have gone through and want to show people the other side and have turned that into a business. So much respect for that.
thank you, Nelia. I appreciate it. Appreciate the time. Have a blessed day.
You too. Thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please subscribe or leave a review. See you next week on the Giving Starts With You podcast.